Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines we have for you this morning. We got the latest with the SEC versus Coinbase, EU and crypto laws. How about this? FedNow, can they freeze your bank account? We're going to hear from them. We got Perry Ann Boring from the Chamber of Digital Commerce, BNY Mellon going all in. We'll tell you on what. And another BIS Ripple connection? How about this? 81 nations meeting to back currency by gold. Oh, we got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can join us on Twitter or YouTube. You can follow us there. $1.17 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 1.4% this morning. Good morning, everyone. 27,000 slightly over for Bitcoin, off by 1.5 in the last 24 hours here. We see Ethereum 1812 and change. It's off by 0.9% in the 24. And the Tether market cap is 82.8 billion plus. We're watching it close. 42 cents for XRP. It's off by 1.4% on the 24-hour. Let's get into this. Hey, Link2 put together this incredible little collage here. It's very short, but I want you to see it and witness the electrifying moment from XRP Las Vegas 2023. And I want to let you know also, not only can you get private equity at Link2, you should click the link underneath the video. Don't mess around. Don't mess around either, because when this comes around again, and we will be doing XRP Las Vegas 2024, get your ticket right away. Don't wait, because this is going to be an incredible event. We've set the hype bar pretty high here, but I'm going to tell you something. We have some very big things planned for you that we couldn't do this year. So make sure that you get that ticket when it's time, and click the link for Link2 and get private equity. It's the best place to do it. Take
Yassine! There he is, big boy! Kelly, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. How are you? Where you want to scoop? Hey, thank you. Yeah, awesome. It works. Of course. Raymond's mom here wherever she wants. Where are we looking?
Appreciate you thanking me, but I'm here to thank you for all that you have done to support this effort. Truly, it does take an army, and this army has been incredible and supportive. We're gonna win this thing. I'm gonna keep it.
What a time it was, no doubt about it. And again, do not mess around. We're already planning Las Vegas, XRP Las Vegas 2024. Don't miss it. It's going to be incredible. Now let's get into some news here, ladies and gentlemen, because we have it for you. This from Michael Branch. The EU's council unanimously approved the landmark markets in crypto assets, which is known as MiCA regulation, a new anti-money laundering measures for crypto transfers. Now, we know that there is some language in this that needs to get straightened out. And doesn't this always seem to be the case? But nevertheless, the EU is ahead of where the United States is, obviously. And this has been cited by some SEC officials, I believe Hester Peirce, that we could learn a lot from MiCA's regulation, which is to be in place by the end of next year. That's going to come quicker than you think. Meanwhile, here at home, the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission said in a court filing Monday that the judges should deny an April request filed by cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase as a part of the ongoing legal dispute between the two. Well, let's hear from Paul Grewal here, Chief Legal Officer, former federal judge, who tells us exactly what's going on here. And I tell you what, boy, does this playbook sound just like what we've witnessed for over 2 years with the SEC versus Ripple. Listen to what they're doing to Coinbase here. It is despicable. Today, the SEC responded to Coinbase's petition for a writ of mandamus, asking the court to require the SEC to respond just yes or no to answer to whether it will undertake rulemaking for our industry. The SEC's answer, a resounding maybe. Today's filing may be the first time when SEC has formally explained in courts its view on whether and how the SEC should create rules for the crypto industry. The SEC told the court the rulemaking may take several years and that they're in no rush. The SEC acknowledged that it will continue to use enforcement actions as a substitute for rulemaking for the foreseeable future, but not to worry. Those enforcement actions may eventually inform not yet planned rulemaking. Now, side note, isn't this what we've said? Is that going out here and using regulation by enforcement to try to set precedent on the cases they feel like they can win? Now, with that goes to SEC versus Ripple. I feel like they've bitten off a little more than they could chew there. The SEC goes on to say, also said that the public statements by Chair Gensler are not formal guidance or policy statements from the SEC, and that the public cannot rely on them as such. Well, I have a side note there. Then why is he in the chair at all? Paul Grewal goes on to say here, overall, the SEC's response reinforces Coinbase's longstanding concern that our industry does not have clarity on what the SEC may consider to be within or outside their jurisdiction at any time, and it is likely to continue changing its mind along the way. He goes on to say here, we look forward to the opportunity to reply formally next week. And as always, we continue to appreciate the court's careful consideration. Look, this is more of the same from the SEC here. But let's change gears because that's the latest, and we'll keep you up to date on that. But let's go to FedNow, which is supposed to launch in either June or July of this year. We know it is a domestic system. It's not necessary for XRP to be used within the domestic system, but Ripple is a partner to the Federal Reserve Faster Payments Council. No question of that. Right? So here we see here is what does additional mean? Well, in fact, checking a report here, the concern is will the U.S. government be able to freeze your accounts through payments network FedNow? Well, this is what they say so far here. According to Fed officials, FedNow is an instant payment service that the Federal Reserve will offer to banks and credit unions to transfer funds for their customers. The Fed and FedNow cannot access individual bank accounts or control how they choose to spend their money. AP also conferred with Aaron Klein, senior fellow at the Washington, D.C. think tank Brookings Institute, and it says here, who said that the concerns about banking accounts being seized through FedNow were a nonsense campaign with no basis in reality. Well, that's good to hear. Klein reportedly says that FedNow is revamped of the Fed's outdated automated clearinghouse. They're upgrading their current system runs from the 50s tech to one that's modern. It's like changing from Blockbuster to Netflix, he says. Concerns of new incoming financial systems that keep tabs on America's every move have increased in recent years, especially with talks of new central bank digital currency. And we know how the new presidential candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., feels about those. He wants them banned altogether. I have to say, when it comes to the CBDCs, if done right, if we could follow what I believe is a proper playbook like Chris Giancarlo has laid out, we can have digital money and it not infringe on the privacy of others. Now, I know it's a scary thought, but nevertheless, I think it can be achieved. Now, the problem is will the people in power and government allow that to happen for the people? And if they don't, we don't have a country anymore. That's the truth. Looking back at this very quickly here, when it talks about Aaron Klein here talking about this, says the FedNow is revamped of the Fed's outdated automating clearinghouse system. Again, I remind you that Ripple is a partner to the U.S. Faster Payments Council and FedNow. That is very exciting to know that the clearing could be involved. Ripple could be involved with the clearing and settlement. That would be very exciting. I hope we learn more there. This here is a clip from Perry Ann Boring sat down with none other than Darren Moore. Shout out to Darren. You should have 1 million followers. Check out this amazing interview with Perry Ann Boring and the Chamber of Digital Commerce. It says here, Ripple case is significant. It's the first occasion the secondary sales of assets have been called into question. And as John Deaton has said, when the Ripple case was filed, I spent a year trying to convince people that secondary sales were being implicated and were alleged to be securities in this case. I argue with dozens of people who claimed the SEC was only alleging securities related to Ripple sales of XRP. They were wrong. John Deaton was right. Then people, including SEC lawyers, argued my concerns were overblown because SEC lawyers said Section 4 exemptions could only apply to secondary sales. I had to explain the Section 4 exemptions only apply to securities and shift the burden on the token holder to prove an exemption. That's the kind of angle, and that shows you the depth of what they were going for in the SEC versus Ripple case. We hope to hear from Judge Torres sooner rather than later, but until then, let's hear Perry Ann Boring lay it down here. Shout out to Perry Ann.
Well, the case SEC versus Ripple, this is a precedent-setting case.
Yes.
What do I mean by that is that the outcomes of this case could set a legal precedent that could impact many other companies in the digital asset industry, plus other companies that are broadly in the capital markets. So the Howey test, the test that's used to define what is a security, it only applies to an initial investment contracts, like the initial issuance of securities and the investment contract. And what's in question is, does that apply to the secondary transactions of the asset of the investment contract or to XRP? And in the 80-ish year history of Howey, it has never been applied to secondary transactions.
And there you have it. It has never been applied to secondary transactions, but that is exactly what John Deaton has been telling all of us since this case dropped on Ripple from the SEC. That is exactly what they were trying to achieve. And I tell you, I don't think anybody's worked any harder than John Deaton to bring all of us together to really fight that issue. And that's for all of crypto, not just XRP holders. Meanwhile, BNY Mellon's focusing on digital assets, and it says deems tokenization the next wave of securitization. And look, this is why I'm here. This is one of the big reasons I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake about that. You know, in this little particular article here, it says crypto is an example of digital assets. But to say that digital assets are a lot more than crypto is an understatement. This is BNY Mellon. And they are interested in what I'm interested in, which is the tokenization of the markets that currently exist today. Bonds, stocks, derivatives, you name it. The entire market. And what I'm interested in as an investor in this space are the companies, projects, value protocols, and tokens that can facilitate this wave of securitization and tokenization that's highlighted here by BNY Mellon, one of the largest banks right here, is telling you what's coming. When we talk about asset classes, we will talk about the same way about equities, fixed income, and digital assets in the same sentence. Yes, indeedy. That's how people are going to use blockchain. That's how we're going to tokenize things. It's going to be a normal thing. And that's what I'm here for, and I don't mind being ahead of the curve, and I'm just as excited about that as I am as about the developer who's working on an idea right now in his house or apartment or garage that someday becomes the next Google or someday becomes the next Amazon or what have you. It's all amazing. And it's all like watching a candle burn from both ends to the middle. Because when we get to the middle, I think we're going to see a top-down, bottom-up explosion, a Cambrian explosion, the way Chris Larson says. And it will be because the revolution of this innovation has taken over. And speaking of which, this is a highlight here from Anthony Welfare, Ripple advisor here. Offline payments will be critical feature of CBDCs in this detailed report. Now remember, we just covered this, but stay with me. I showed you that in the BIS report about offline payments, two of the people in the long list of advisors on how to get that done, Anthony Rouse, Director of Product Management at CBDC at Ripple, and Anthony Welfare, Senior Advisor, CBDC and Global Partnerships. Now, there's many others on this list too, but they're on it. And if you're on it, it's because you're helping solve the problem. Then there's here this other connection. Shout out to 801 XRP for this. He says, fam, older 2020 article, but Saudi G20 presidency, BIS, are proud to host global event fintech-focused hackathon to highlight the potential for technology to resolve regulatory compliance. And if you look at what he's got here, he talks about the 3 tech sprint winners. And why is this important? Well, he's going to show you, because the reality is this. It says FNA, one of the 3 winners, Ripple used FNA to simulate the liquidity needs of banks interacting over the network over time. So FNA is one of the winners of this hackathon. And then if you go into this and you look, you will see clearly there's FNA right there. If you go over here, then FNA, Ripple defines liquidity requirements with FNA. So there's another connection here with BIS and certainly with off-chain payments. You know, this is getting exciting to me because we see a couple guys from Ripple helping out, advising on how to get these things done. You know, then we see the connection between FNA and there. Are we speculating? You damn right we are. But our speculation doesn't stop just with the BIS. What is all of this working towards? The BIS, central bank digital currencies, all of this is working towards a new financial system, a new asset-backed currency system, a multipolar asset-backed system. And I think Molly Elmore has it right here. Give her a follow. Asset-backed currencies are coming. The road there may be rough, but it's the only way to return humanity to sound money. I want you to hear this retired Colonel Douglas McGregor here talk exactly about the meeting that's coming up with 81 nations headed to St. Petersburg in June next month for a major conference to discuss broadly and a larger plan to back currency with gold again. It's just the beginning. Listen to this.
It's booming. And as I said earlier, 81 nations are headed to St. Petersburg in June for a major conference, the purpose of which is to bring them into this larger plan to back currency with gold. And the gold in China, the gold in Russia, the gold in India is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. It's just the beginning. The question is, what do we do? And these people in Washington have no answers.
Well, I tell you something. While they have no answers and while we're left to speculate, we have to ask ourselves the questions individually. Do we believe the events and the innovation that we're seeing in the digital asset space? Do we believe the onset and pilots and launching of central bank digital currencies? Do we believe that the 81 nations that are headed to St. Petersburg next month to discuss a larger plan to back currencies by gold again are mutually exclusive? Or do we believe that we're witnessing the debt-based system collapsing and moving to an asset-backed system? And is all of what we're seeing related in that transition and that transformation? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.